Do you have a key employee who runs the show? Good for you. May I ask, who's going to take over if your key person leaves your business? If you're not building your management bench now, you could be left scrambling should that ever happen. Or worse, you're going to have to step back into the business, into that role. So let's talk about building your management bench. If you are joining the show for the first time, if you are a business owner, a family business owner, this show is for you, and we are going to be talking about building your management bench today. So it's welcome for those of you who are attending for the first time. This is one of those scenarios where you have to slow down in order to go fast. I'm going to say this with love in my heart and no judgment whatsoever, but 99% of you watching this are not going to do what I'm suggesting, and that's okay. I know this is stuff that's good for you, but it's for you to do, not for me to do. And you can choose to do it or not do it, but I can guarantee it's going to have a massive impact on how your business runs and how you can actually run it without you being around every second of the day. How would that sound? As a strategist, very often the first thing I do when I get to an organization is I assess the company culture. Right from the very moment that I pull in, I look around. How does it feel? Like when I walk in, am I being greeted happily with a smile? Or is it more like a scene from Throw Mama from the Train? What is the overall tone of the staff? Is it friendly? Is it a friendly atmosphere? Or is it more combative? Does it give off an air of trust where thoughts and ideas are openly shared and people openly ask for help? Or is it the other way, where no one trusts each other and there's a lot of gossip going on, there's side conversations going on, and no one dares to ask it for any sort of help or for fear that it's going to be used against them? The reason this is important to understand is because this is going to have a direct impact on how you will be able to build a management bench from the members of your team. Now, if you stop and think about it for just a second, think about how most people are promoted at most small businesses. It's often based on technical skill, right? Technical skill versus management ability. Technical skill means that they know the technical aspects of their job. They know how to turn the wrenches. They know how to reconcile the accounts. They know how to do the very specific aspects of their job. Management ability, on the other hand, is their ability to handle disparity and handle differences and navigating all the competing interests that come up from moment to moment. That's management. Obviously, technical skill and management ability are two very different sets of skills. So let's pull over and park here for just a second on building a management bench. Let's slow down for just a minute so we can actually speed up later on. If you take a 30,000-foot view of your business, this is where you would define some key things about your business so you can build things like a management development program on a solid foundation. In order to build that solid foundation, you would want to define a solid set of company core values. Now, this would be part of a much longer conversation, but I want to give you some things to work on now. Let's start on defining your company core values. So defining your company core values is such an important task, but unfortunately, most business owners never actually stop and do it. Look, I get it. You're operationally too busy to work on the business, and this is one of those nice to do exercises, but you're just too busy whacking the closest alligator to the boat. I get it. But remember, this is about you creating an insurance policy should your key person, specifically if they're in a management role, ever leave and you're not stuck in scramble mode. If you do take the time to stop and define your core values, specifically your company core values, please know this is not something that can be rushed. It's also not something that can be done and never revisited. And that's for a lot of reasons, right? This is, company core values need to be part of your business's very DNA. That means that they need to be reviewed and revisited often. So let's say, for example, that you have a set of 5 core values. I think 5 is the sweet spot for a lot of different reasons. But one of those reasons is that there are 5 workdays. And for any business that has a daily operational efficiency meeting or any sort of daily meeting whatsoever, one of the 5 core values would be mentioned near the beginning of every meeting. A new core value would then be revisited and visited each work day. This ensures that everyone in the business hears them over and over, not just a one and done sort of thing. It would also be important to ask someone in the meeting what that particular core value means to them. So it transcends from a simple definition of what the boss says to something that is much deeper for that individual as long as they work there. These well-defined core values would also be the standards on which the employee performance was graded. So in other words, they would be graded against the core values on their employee evaluations. Your company core values would also be a solid, it would be like a mechanism that could be used during the coaching sessions between the managers and their direct reports. So if they had to have, if someone was having a behavioral issue or some other issue, they could use the core values as the standard in terms of how to guide that coaching, that coaching episode. So why am I making such a big deal about core values? Well, because a defined set of core values changes things for a business. It sets a much different standard for how business is to be done. It also gives a roadmap for how decisions are to be made when you're not around. In other words, it becomes a true north for your managers to operate with under. It really becomes a true north for everybody to operate under. So with a set of core values well defined, now you can start talking about creating a management development program, and now you can worry about building a management bench. If you try to do this out of order, you're going to be met with a lot of frustration because you're going to be left with promoting people under the old paradigm of someone who just stuck around long enough not to get fired because they're technically proficient, but they have no real management ability. Okay, so how do you develop your company core values? Well, that's where it gets a little bit tricky to do by yourself, but I'm going to give you a couple things to work on. First, if this is your business, consider your own set of personal core values. Remember, your business is just an extension of you, and how you want to conduct your business is entirely your affair. So when determining some of your own personal core values, I think it's helpful to think of the extremes that have occurred in your life. Think of the good extremes and think of the bad extremes. So let's start with the bad ones since, those most are often the most memorable. Think of a time, or maybe where you had a friend, where something that was going on that you were not willing to do. All right, let's say you had a friend, or maybe it was an ex, that was heading down a path that you could not follow. And you had to let this person wander off the reservation. And as heartbreaking as it was at the time, you had to let them go. The reason that might have been so heartbreaking is because it violated a core value of yours. Let's say this person was lying to you. Maybe it violated a core value of honesty. Maybe they were saying one thing and doing another, right? So maybe it violated a core value of integrity, right? That is, where they're being in alignment with what they say and what they do. Maybe it was about breaking promises, right? So for you, keeping promises was a core value. Now, I'm not talking about maybe things that were just simply annoying. I'm talking about things that were such a violation that you were willing to blow up the relationship. Now, let's look at the other extreme, the most amazing positive experiences that you've had in your life. What was it about those experiences? Maybe it was about the newness or the excitement or the discovery, right? So much so that you want to model other experiences around those experiences. So let's bring this back to the business realm for a second. All of those personal core values that I just mentioned earlier might be nice to haves, but this is where you need to be really honest with yourself about how you expect your business to be conducted, specifically when you're not around. And these violations would be fireable offenses. So don't take them lightly. And you may come up with, let's face it, a dozen or so personal core values that are personal to you, and probably dozens more lesser values. But it's going to be necessary to really boil down your company core values to 5. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of my own core values that I'm currently working through here at Strategic Boardroom, and then we're going to land the plane. So if you'd like a full copy, I'm going to make them available as a download so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about, and I'll leave a link in the description. So they are as follows. Let me share my screen here so you can see them. A cycle of education and implementation. A community of contribution. Let me get that moved over. Creating legends of people. A commitment to love, grace, and kindness, and accountability and ownership. Now, if you notice here on some of these, they have sub-definitions in there, okay? And part of the reason for those sub-definitions is they help define each individual element the way that I want them to be defined. So let me get back to my, StreamYard's making me work for it today. There we go. And so again, if you notice those sub-definitions in there, they are defined in the way that I want them to be defined. And it's within those sub-definitions that helps me and my people and my organization operate in every way, from the types of clients that we work with, to the way we make decisions, to the way we hold meetings, and to the way we even hold conversations with one another. So this is all I have for you. Again, if you'd like a copy of this, of my core values, have it over to the description field and I'll get that right over to you so you can model it for your own business around your own set of core values. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.